guys, the Bench Buddies are back with our college football week 3 preview and picks. As always, I got Ty joining us, our college analyst. And before we get into the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're at 200 subscribers. We'll be giving away an autographed item. So all you have to do is hit that subscribe button to be entered into our giveaway. But let's look at last week's results. And Ty, obviously you got me here by a few games. But which game, stood out the most to you last week that's on this list?
I gotta say, Texas A&M losing to App State. I really didn't see it coming. I actually thought Texas A&M would cover that big spread, but it was not a fluke at all. App State just dominated that game. They had the ball for at least 2/3 of the game. So just a crazy upset in what was really a crazy week. Obviously, Alabama, that's another one that stands out, almost losing. Should have lost to Texas. So crazy week.
Yeah, I agree. The big thing that I'm taking away here is BYU beating Baylor, in what was it, overtime on the rushing game. They just didn't give up against one of the best rushing defenses in the country. BYU came out and absolutely ran the ball down their throats no matter what. Maybe it wasn't a total yards, but they stuck with it, and that's how they eventually won that game. But this week, we're going to start it out a different way. We're starting with our Michigan Wolverines first. Obviously, that 47.5 is a lot to cover. As you saw last week, Michigan did not cover against Hawaii. But now we know moving forward that J.J. McCarthy is officially the QB1, for at least this week. Who knows? It's going to be, how long it's going to be or until they maybe switch something up or get McNamara in there. But this UConn team is absolutely terrible. Probably the weakest non-conference schedule Michigan's ever had, and possibly, ever in the history of college football, because this is absolutely terrible to rip on our Wolverines. But, Bama does it every year, and no one rips on them. But I'm going to go with Michigan, obviously, here. Can't bet against Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan will win easily. First start for JJ since he won the job, so I think he'll have a big half, and then he'll come out of the game. I don't think Michigan covers, though. I think they'll be up like 42 at halftime. But we saw it last week. They'll just start throwing in guys you've never heard of, guys that are just putting on a jersey to go play as a walk-on. So I think they won't cover, but they'll be up huge at halftime.
Then moving over to ESPN, probably at halftime. This one will be a little closer, I would hope. Georgia, South Carolina. You get the number 1 team in the country going into the Gamecocks area with Spencer Rattler, who I think is going to have a decent day, but I just can't see them pulling off the upset here. Georgia's defense is top tier. They've only given up 3 points this whole year. And it's Georgia. They're not gonna, get upset like that. I think Georgia's slowly becoming, the new powerhouse in college football right under our eyes.
Yeah, I think Georgia's the best team in college football right now. I think they're definitely a step above everyone else. And South Carolina's up and coming, but you're not going to beat Georgia when you're up and coming. You need to be arrived already. So I think Georgia should have their way. 24.5 is a lot, though. So I don't know if they'll cover that, but they should get out of Columbia pretty easily.
In this game, probably after that third quarter, you're going to be tuning into this one because I think this is going to be a close game no matter what. Obviously, the history behind these two teams goes a long way back, but Scott Frost is fired, so maybe, just maybe, there's an upset brewing here in Nebraska. The Cornhuskers maybe could pull one off here. I can't pick that. I just can't with Oklahoma right now playing on exceptional on all levels. So I got to pick Oklahoma, but I do think that 11-point spread could be trouble for those Oklahoma bettors.
Yeah, before the season started, I thought Nebraska would pull the upset, but after the first 3 games, I just can't pull the trigger on it. Nebraska's just handing out touchdowns to everybody right now, so I think Dylan Gabriel has a huge day for Oklahoma, and I think they just outscore Nebraska. I don't think the Huskers will be able to keep up. So Oklahoma gets the road win.
And then, of course, we got to put them on here. The Fighting Irish looking for their first win under Marcus Freeman. They're favored by 11, and I'm not confident in that at all. I know Cal is 2-0. Hey, they've won this year. Notre Dame hasn't. Simple as that. I'm going to go with Notre Dame, though, getting their win. I'm not going to touch this game from a betting standpoint anywhere. I'm just so uncertain about both these teams. But for the picks wise here, I'm going with Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame finally gets their first win under Freeman. I think Cal does cover the 11 points. I think it's going to be a close win for Notre Dame, but it's been a struggle for them. So hopefully they can at some point get it figured out. I think they finally get a win here, but Tyler Buckner's out, so who knows?
Then at 3:30, I think you have the least anticipated but most important game of this week, the Penn State Auburn game. And Penn State's favored by 3. They're ranked in the AP polls, where Auburn is not. And if they win this game, there's no doubt they will be ranked going into next week. And I'm going to go with the Tigers here. I think they can get this one at home. It's always tough to go into Auburn and play, especially with how much this means to both these programs here early in the season. If Auburn can pull that off, that's going to give them some confidence going into SEC play, and it could be this year's surprise team. Last year was Arkansas, and who is it going to be this year? I think if Auburn wins this game, it could well be Auburn.
Yeah, I think Penn State's actually an underrated team this year. I really think they're due for a bounce back season. And I'm not super high on Auburn. I know it's really tough to go in there and win, but I think Penn State's going to just barely get it done this year. I think Sean Clifford, he's already shown this year that he can play well on the road, beating Purdue at their place. I think Purdue's actually slightly better than Auburn. So I think if they can win in there, then they can go get a road win at Auburn as well. So I'm taking Penn State.
And then another game at 3:30. If you're not into those kind of rivalries, you can go with the Pac-12. The big Pac-12 new Big 12 member BYU, if you want to look at it that way. And I'm going with BYU after one win last week that really kind of stood out. Obviously, they're moving up into the top 15 now. If they can get this win in Eugene, this team is for sure a top 10 team, possibly even top 5 if you really want to go that high, just because so early you're playing all these ranked teams and getting those wins. And if they do that, watch out, this BYU team could be another independent team technically that gets into the playoff.
Yeah, I think if they can get through this game, BYU is definitely going to have an argument to make the playoff. And I think they definitely could if you look at the rest of their schedule. But I'm going to go with the Ducks here. I know they got absolutely blown out by Georgia, but it's a tough place to play. There's still talent on this roster. And coming off that emotional win, BYU, now having to go on the road, I think that's going to be tough for them. So I think Oregon bounces back from the Georgia loss and gets a big home win here.
And at 6, starting off the night slate, you got Mississippi State and LSU. And I'm going with Brian Kelly's Tigers here. I think they can win this one. That line, I'm going to go with the spread, the 2.5, in case they don't win this game. But LSU, I just think that, that tough first loss is going to be one that's going to hurt their resume at the end of the year. Because I think this is a 9-3 team at worst. They do have a fairly easier schedule in the SEC compared to a lot of teams. And I just think that LSU is going to sweep this one out here at home.
Yeah, it's been a rough start for Brian Kelly, but I think there's too much talent for LSU to lose this game at Death Valley. Even though they're the underdog, I think they get this big win at home. Mississippi State's going to be underrated this year. I don't see them going in there and getting this win. I think LSU, they might have a down year, but they're still a 7-8 win team in my opinion, and I think that'll show in this game.
And at 7 o'clock, you got NC State, Texas Tech. I'm going with NC State here. I just think this team, knows how to win close games, and I think that's what it's going to be. I don't think they're going to cover. I think it's going to come down to the wire yet again for NC State, just like week 1. But they will prevail and get the W.
Yeah, I'll also say Texas Tech covers that spread, but I think NC State, the home team, I think they'll get this win here. Devin Leary at quarterback is a really experienced player, and I think that'll be the difference here. Texas Tech can score, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop Leary enough in this game, so NC State should get to 3-0.
7:30, we got the Pitt Panthers coming off a tough overtime loss, going into technically our house at Waldo in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the Broncos. And if I'm going to be completely honest, that 10-point spread is a lot more respectful than I thought this would be for those Broncos. I know, they're going in home. Western played in Pitt last year, only lost by a touchdown, I believe, to Kenny Pickett. And, obviously Kenny Pickett was exceptional last year. Now they have Slovis. He got hurt. And who knows how this game is going to go. So just because of that uncertainty, it's Maction, baby. I'm going with the Broncos.
Yeah, I just can't pull the trigger on my school here. I think Western's O-line is really young, and I don't think they're going to be able to hold up. They struggled a lot against Michigan State. I think you'll see more of the same here against Pittsburgh. So I think that'll be the difference. Pittsburgh's going to score a lot. Western's defense is never good, and it's no exception this year. I just don't think the Broncos are going to be able to score with Pittsburgh. I like the over, but I also like Pittsburgh in this game, unfortunately.
Then another game, if you won't be attending that Broncos game, it'll be SMU versus Maryland, a 7:30 Fox Sports 1 game. technically prime time if you want to think about it. But this is a game that's definitely going to fly under the radar this week. You got two 2-0 teams looking to prove a point, possibly get into those rankings next week. And I think Maryland could be a dark horse team in the Big Ten to pull off an upset or two this year. Obviously, with Tua's brother, Tagovailoa, he, is due for at least a good year finally. He's had all the hype around him, and I think this could be that year.
Yeah, this game's going to be a shootout. Neither of these teams play any defense, especially Maryland. They are all offense and no defense at all. So you're going to see a lot of points here. And I think Maryland is more equipped for a game like that. I think their offense can outscore SMU. Tagovailoa should have a big game here because it's not top tier defense. So he usually lights up teams like this, and I think Maryland gets the big win and gets 3-0.
And then most likely I'll be watching this game, flipping back between the Broncos and this one. Michigan State, Washington, and I am going to go with the home dogs in Washington. It's the Pac-12. You never know with the Pac-12. They could get absolutely obliterated here by 30, or they could, pull one out and win this one by 10 or something. And I don't think they're going to win by 10. But I think Washington is not even going to cover. I think this will be a 1 point or 2 point victory for Washington. It'll come down to the wire, possibly a missed field goal or a late game field goal. And I think that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm going with the Spartans here to get a upset road win according to Vegas, even though they're the highly ranked team and Washington's unranked. But I think either Jaden Reed or Keon Coleman is going to make a play late, get the Spartans a big late lead that they'll be able to hold on to and get a big win here. I don't think Washington has the playmakers that Michigan State has. I'm assuming they're only favored because they're at home, but I don't think that's going to matter. I think Michigan State gets the win close.
Then at 9, you have a ranked matchup here with the Miami Hurricanes going in to take on Texas A&M, home of the 12th man. And last week, obviously, the App State, I called it I technically called it, but didn't pick it. The App State could pull this one off, and they did. But now, lots of uncertainty here around both teams, if you really want to think about it. Obviously, Mario Cristobal's here in Miami, and if he gets this win, Miami, the U, is more than likely going to be back and contending for that ACC championship this year, where if Texas A&M can pull this one out, I think at the end of the year, most people will forget about that App State loss if they can get back on track here. But I think the big question for me is Jimbo Fisher actually a really good coach, or did he have a really good team in 2013 when Florida State and Jameis Winston took them to a national championship? And I think that's going to be a debate moving forward here. If Jimbo Fisher can't really have success at Texas A&M, that could hurt his legacy a little bit. And I think this game is going to hurt even more when Miami comes out with a win.
Yeah, I'm calling this game the overrated bowl here. It's pretty bad that Miami's given 5.5 to a team that just lost at this stadium that they're playing at. They just lost to App State here. So Miami obviously has not impressed their first 2 games after their high expectations. Texas A&M fell 18 spots in the rankings. So both of these teams need to make a statement on Saturday. And I think Texas A&M is going to get the win at Kyle Field. I think they will bounce back. I just don't see them falling to 1-2. And, if they do, I think it's going to be complete and utter panic there in College Station. But I think they'll get the home win. Miami, I'm not quite as sold on as most people are. So I think the Aggies get the close win.
Then here, last game on the docket, we got Fresno State taking on USC. And I think this is USC's closest game they'll have all year. The line says otherwise. It was a little closer line last week, but I think this one will be a little closer at the end of the game than the last 2 weeks. USC has been putting up big numbers. I think they're averaging 50 points a game right now, and I can see it continuing here. I think the over will hit. I think it's going to be a 49 to 28 kind of game, 49-35, something like that, where the over is going to hit, or at least hit right on the dot. And I got to go with USC here with their high-powered offense. Caleb Williams is just going to, throw for probably another 300 yards, maybe rush for 100 as well.
Yeah, I'm a little confused at this 12-point line. Maybe I'm missing something, but USC has looked really impressive in their 2 games, and Fresno State just lost at home to Oregon State. Well, I don't know if they're going to be that great this year. So surprised the line's only 12. I'm hammering USC spread I think there's going to be a lot of points scored, but most of them are going to be by USC. I think they'll win by at least 3 touchdowns here.
That's going to be it for the video today. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below to be entered into our giveaway. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.